I really want to hear it beneath the underpass. Hey guys, so today I'm in a 2009 Ferrari 430 Scuderia. This is the hardened, track-focused version of the standard Ferrari F430. And when I say hardcore, I mean hardcore. This is about as bare bones as you can get. You can option it without AC. It's got carbon fiber everywhere. No carpets, just bare metal flooring. So 4.3 liter naturally aspirated V8, 510 brake horsepower. Not a substantial amount compared to today's cars with 700 horsepower, 800 from the factory, even more now. The 510 is plentiful. When you have a noise this good, those shifts are insanely quick for a single clutch transmission.
Yeah.
An older F1 transmission, those are amazing. Oh, we can get a little pop on the overrun. 8,500 RPM redline. Shift lights on the steering wheel. Traditional Ferrari fashion. Carbon fiber bucket race seats doing their thing.
They squeeze you.
Serving their purpose.
My hand squeezed.
And we have this little Ford Ranger with what looks like 135 rear section tires. Top speed is 200 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. That still holds up by today's standards. I believe a Ferrari Roma is actually the same 0 to 60 time. This car weighs less than 3,000 pounds. That's pretty funny. It's quite loud in here. It's quite noisy. There's no sound deadening in here, so it's just very raw. We're only at 4,000 RPM. That's less than half of what it can rev up to, and it's already this loud. So if you want to have a conversation in here, it's not ideal. This car broadly sounds just like a 430, but it's just more, essentially. I believe this car has had the valves cut, so they're permanently open, which is exactly how I'd want my Scuderia to be. Does sound good. You can turn off traction control, stability control. Not gonna do that today. Sport mode currently, sort of your default setting. Still very intense, still very rough. I don't really see the point of driving it in sport mode. I mean, unless you're just really that desperate for any kind of extra comfort, but really there's no comfort. It's just straight into race mode is how you should do it. So in race mode, everything is of course a bit tensed up. Ride is firmer, transmission is quicker. Everything's more responsive. 6-speed, single clutch transmission. This is the last generation of the F1 paddle shift transmissions, and easily the best single clutch transmission I've ever used. The dual clutch came out the very year after this in the Ferrari California. For a single clutch transmission, this is insanely quick. It honestly feels like a dual clutch. Shifts in 60 milliseconds, which is pretty insane. Ferrari also says this car is faster around the test track than an Enzo, which is pretty nuts to think about, being the Enzo is sort of essentially the LaFerrari of its time. Turn in is immediate. Steering is not as darty as modern Ferraris. It's still quick, but it doesn't, like the 458 was a pretty huge leap when it came to how quick the steering was. It's still quick steering, and it's just not as darty as the modern cars, which I actually prefer it this way. It's just very loud. It feels like a race car for the street, which is essentially what it is. I mean, it is just mesmerizingly good. And those carbon brakes, they work well. It does have automatic mode, but why would you drive a Scuderia in automatic mode? It's got the perfect amount of power where you can really wind it out, still be going fast, but not be going so fast that you have to immediately hit the brake. In a McLaren 720S, when you get on it, you have to hit the brake almost immediately afterwards because you're just going so fast. And while it is incredible and still very fun, it's kind of nice to just be able to wind it out and just enjoy that race car experience. It is crazy hopping out of a 360 into a 430. It's just much easier to maneuver around town. It's much easier to creak forward in traffic. Oh, this is one of the most emotional sounds I've ever heard in a car. Sitting in traffic, a lot of attention, especially with this Rosso Scuderia exterior paint color. It's one of the best Ferrari colors. It's kind of like Rosso Corsa, but it's a brighter shade of red, more of an exotic look to it. It is quite a roomy interior. The 430 is a very roomy car in general, so. It sounds so good. Visibility is actually pretty good. It's not, I wouldn't say it's tremendous, but it's not as bad as, like, say, that Huracan Evo I was in. Now, what I love most about this experience driving the Scuderia is I've found myself, as of recent, being drawn back to the older cars, the older exotics. Part of it is, of course, nostalgia. Any car that was hot when I was 10 years old, I just automatically love. SLR McLaren, Carrera GT, Enzo, Zonda, all that good stuff. This came out when I was in middle school, I believe 7th grade. Everything now has either gone turbocharged, well, mostly everything has gone turbocharged. The Huracan Evo, I will say, is a modern car that has a lot of emotion to it. But even that, it's just so easy to drive. Not that this is very difficult to drive, it isn't, but it has a bit more of an experience to it. There's something about just the older car. That's why it was so fun to hop back into that Murcielago a few weeks ago, because it was just so much fun and so much passion behind it. The new cars, they're amazing and they're so fast. It's so hard to beat that noise, and it's so loud. This is what a Ferrari should be like. Visceral, raw, a tad bit terrifying. And that is just how it should be. Oh, this is probably the most fun Ferrari I've ever driven. This is my first time driving a Scuderia. All modern supercars you can drive every day. That's how good they are. That's how easy they are to drive. This, of course, you could technically drive anything in every day, but this you wouldn't want to, which makes it more of an occasion. This car makes you feel incredibly special because of what it represents. Scuderia is Italian for team. It has a lot of heritage behind it, and essentially is like a race car for the street. Not in the same way that the 360 Challenge Stradale was, that literally was converted to a street car. This really does feel like a race car. And the highlight of this car, of course, is the engine. And I'll even say the transmission, because I think it's actually very fun to use compared to some of the dual clutches, which are so quick that they almost become unemotional and undramatic. 430 Scuderias are still over $200,000 and will likely stay there or go up, especially as the newer cars continue to become turbocharged and have smaller engines. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me redo that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one.